Hey, Crinji here. I'm at Unite Melbourne 2017. This is a developer conference kind of focusing more on the Unity engine. It's actually been behind probably a lot of the games that you've played on mobile and actually more and more on console and PC. Unite has been an event running here at the Melbourne Convention Centre as part of Melbourne Games Week for I think a few years now. It was here at least last year. As per last year, they had the Unity showcase at the event this time, which was basically just kind of like an indie showcase. More or less, it's just showing a bunch of developers that are making use of Unity in fun, interesting, unique ways. And there was a really interesting spread of games, and I got to have hands-on with quite a few of them actually. So I got to give Bounce House a go. This is a mobile game, mobile-ish. It's on iOS and Android, but I was playing it on an iPad. It's sort of a one-tap or one-swipe, very sort of simple interactions. The thing that I loved about it though is that it's the way that you move is by jumping. It's entirely set on a jumping castle, and so you just bounce through the levels, which is how I want the rest of my life to be actually as well. The reason why you need to bounce is I believe there are sort of collectibles in the level. You need to sort of rack up these points, but also there are spikes, there are other hazards throughout the level that you need to try and avoid. And I think there's also something chasing you, but I wasn't slow enough to get caught by it. But that was really good fun. Another game I got to play was Feather or Fruits of a Feather. I'm not totally sure what it's called at this point. I only saw Feather in the demo, but then if you go to the itch.io page, it's Fruits of a Feather. It's a game by Samurai Punk. You might know them from Screen Cheat, a interesting sort of first-person game. I wouldn't call it a shooter because you won't necessarily, when you're throwing bear bombs, it's hard to call it a shooter. But Feather is pretty much an art house game. You play as a bird just flying around, sort of exploring the island. It's quite a large sort of area that you've got to fly around in. And you're not sort of trying to fulfill objectives. You're not trying to chase, quest markers or anything like that. It is very much open-ended. And at one point in the game's lifespan, there were collectibles, which is probably why it was called Fruits of a Feather, because you were flying around collecting fruit. Now, funnily enough, when you hit the button to bring up the collectible, like how many you've gotten, it's just 0 out of 0. And Nick, the developer, said that he'd purposefully taken those out because he just wasn't a fan. The thing that there is to sort of find on the island, apart from the island itself, which is gorgeous, is these towers that trigger music to play while you're exploring the island. And the soundtrack by itself is gorgeous. But then when you have that as the backdrop to while you're exploring this island, essentially, it's, again, art house game. So it is very enjoyable. It is free currently. You can download it on itch.io. But Nick said, he's looking at potentially developing it further. Like, does he want to sell it? Does he not? At this point in time, you can download it on itch.io. In the future, maybe Steam, who knows? Puzzle Poppers from Cardboard Keep is another mobile game on iOS and Android. It was in beta testing a little while ago, and it's pretty much a puzzle game where you have to get the dogs to the food. The way that you do that is by stretching you don't move the dog, you stretch the dog around the grid. And so it's a puzzle game essentially. You've got collectibles that you can pick up to sort of 100% levels, or you can just actually get the dogs to the food. And it's got a surprisingly smooth learning curve. There aren't a whole lot of elements in it, truthfully. It's more or less just figuring out how to lead the dogs around the level to try and 100%. If you're not 100%ing the game, or you're not interested in doing that, I feel like it's not going to hold your attention for quite as long. If you are, I was prone to getting frustrated by it when it was in beta, actually. But at the moment, it's got a really, really good learning curve, actually. It's free on both Android and iOS, and it's absolutely adorable. And I've been looking for a puzzle game that isn't sort of timing focused, and that's Puzzle Poppers, so hit that up. And lastly, I got to try the Adventure Pals from a developer called Massive Monster. I think it's a duo of devs. One is based in Sydney, and I think one is based in the UK. But it's a cute sort of side-scrolling action game, kind of like a beat 'em up. When I first saw it, I was like, is this kind of like a Castle Crashers kind of deal? But they were like, no, we're taking sort of, in terms of the visuals, they're taking inspiration from a few different sources. Gravity Falls was one of the sources that they mentioned, and it is really gorgeous. It is really cute. The giraffe that you have in your backpack, for example, that's a sentence. Yeah, the giraffe in your backpack is adorable. The giraffe helicopter, where it just flings its tongue around, and that's how you glide in it. Perfect. It was really good fun actually playing 2-player, and so I imagine that will be probably the best way, or one of the best ways to play it. It's coming to a few consoles to my knowledge. He did mention Switch, and so I'm keen as heck to get that on Switch because I have a crippling addiction to buying Switch games at the moment. So all of that's out or coming out. I think Adventure Pals actually was the only one that isn't out right now. So keep an eye out for that one coming out very, very soon. The others you should be able to download now, actually. Puzzle Poppers is available on mobile, so is Bounce House, and then of course Feather you can download for PC on itch.io. So that was the Unity Showcase. Bunch of indie games. There were even more up there, and there's going to be even more at PAX coming up very, very soon. If you enjoyed this little sort of Unity Showcase wrap up, feel free to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Leave us any comments if you've got any questions on what was on show or what you'd like to see from PAX, for example, what you wanted to see out of Unity. Maybe an interview, a developer interview. You know, I'm not going to kink shame, but do it. But yeah, we've got more coming from Games Week, including stuff from GCAP loading, and PAX. So be sure to subscribe to see all of that as it comes out, and we'll talk to you soon.